brief overview of the functions and some examples and just ideas of special occasion speeches. So, special occasion speeches are speeches to entertain or speeches to celebrate. Uh, so, these can be lighthearted, amusing. So, we often think of best man speeches. They offer a certain degree of insight about the person who is who the speech is about, who is being celebrated. Um, so, like in a eulogy, you would celebrate the person, but it wouldn't necessarily be lighthearted, but they can be amusing. Um, Speeches at an event, um, praise, you want to praise and praise the subject and the reason for the celebration. There is a ceremonial effect to them if you're introducing or if this is the Academy Award. Um, there's some aspect of ceremony there.
They are speeches to commemorate maybe an event, a remembrance, a tribute to somebody. We commemorate 9/11. We give a lot of speeches on that day. They are, or could be, speeches to inspire. Motivational speeches are really special occasion speeches. Those locker room speeches are inspirational for coaches. Um, we want to make sure we have um, an idea of how to craft those speeches, because they are an art and there are skills and techniques in crafting them. Or speeches to set a social agenda. Oftentimes we see politicians speaking at different events and really talking about their platforms and the social agenda. So, and those are also, those are not speeches to change someone's mind. Those are speeches, starting, talking to your base already. Just as inspirational speeches are. In the locker room, if your team thinks they're going to lose, no inspirational speech is really going to turn it around, but you can inspire them to do their best and to try the best, and there's always hope. But you would hope that a team in a locker room has a mindset of victory. So let's first talk about speeches of introduction. Um, there are some rules to these. You want to be brief, and brevity is at the end of this list, but it is really very important. If you are introducing a speaker, so say your event has a keynote speaker and you are to introduce that person, or you are introducing a guest speaker in a class, you don't want to talk for 15 minutes and then leave the speaker 15 minutes to speak. The purpose of the event, the purpose of the celebration, or the keynote address is that speaker, not you. So you want to be brief. You always want to invite the audience to welcome the speaker. You do want to describe the speaker's background, qualifications, just so everybody knows who they are and what they come, where they come from. Think of when Barack Obama spoke at the DNC. He was from Chicago. He was a politician, but he was not really anyone that was known across the nation. And this was his introduction to the national world of politics. When being introduced, you want to make sure everyone knows of their qualifications to be speaking. And you also want to describe the topic briefly. So these are kind of rules for introduction speeches. So these are special occasion speeches and you are introducing another speaker. Can you use the formula for these? Of course you can, but you really only want maybe two main points. So your main points will be the speaker's background, and your second main point would be the speaker's topic. And then really your conclusion would talk about, inviting the audience to welcome the speaker. That's your transition to conclusion. So you want those to be relatively brief. Now, when accepting an award, how many times have we watched people be played off stage? You do want to prepare in advance, and I know it doesn't. You don't want to seem like you are expecting to win when you have a speech prepared, but you do want to prepare, because when you just speak off the top of your head, you inevitably forget people and you forget things that you want to say, and it doesn't come out as clearly or as organized to your audience. You always want to express what the award means to you. So if you are receiving the award for Employee of the Month, and it is at a conference or at a monthly meeting, you want to make sure you express what the award means to you. You want to express your gratitude. We always think of Sally Fields, saying, you like me, you really like me. Make sure you are thankful for the award. And again, brevity. With all of these occasion speeches, you do not want to go on and on and on. Speeches of presentation, when you are presenting an award. So an award is being given and you're presenting the award. So, you get to introduce the actors for the Academy Award, or you get to introduce the Cecil B. DeMille Award recipient. We always know who that's going to be, but and the person should prepare their speech in advance to accept the award. But if you're the presenter, you want to do a number of things. You want to communicate the meaning of the award. You want to explain why the recipient is the one who is receiving it. So make that connection for your audience. Usually these are given at award ceremonies or banquets or retreats, or business meetings. Again, you don't want to speak for too long. You don't want to overshadow the person who is actually receiving the award. But you also want to be very clear why this person is deserving of the award. Set the stage. Establish their credibility for them. Toasts and roasts. These tend to be humorous, right? A roast is a humorous tribute to a person. It's a speaker's jokingly poking fun at that person. Toasts, lately have taken a turn to the roast effect as well, and you watched a few of them in your videos last week. So this week, these tend to be funny. They tend to be short. They are very short celebration speeches. You don't want to sit at a wedding when the bar is closed and have the father of the bride talk for 45 minutes. They are supposed to be brief, so you always want to think under 10 minutes. 5 to 7 minutes is a great timetable for these types of speeches. You give events at ceremonies. You give toasts at ceremonies. You give toasts at dinners, at Thanksgivings, and you never want somebody who's going on and on and on. You have to rehearse all of these. I don't want anyone to think that they are such a great speaker that they cannot prepare in advance and rehearse, even for just a 2-minute toast. Even if you think what you're going to say is, I'm thankful we're all gathered here around the table, and I hope that we can return next year to do it again. That's a very short toast, but you have to think about it and you have to prepare and practice it. because otherwise other things get in the way. Nerves, excitement. So in preparing for toasts and roasts, again, you want to practice. Time the speech, practice the speech. You want to highlight remarkable tributes of the person receiving the award or the honoree. You always want to stand when you offer a toast. And you want to be positive in toasts. And the final special occasion speech that we really want to talk about are eulogies. These commemorate and console people. Can they be humorous? Of course they can. Delivery is important with this one. So if you are being funny, you don't necessarily need to deliver like a cheerleader. Make sure your emotions match the occasion. You want a balanced delivery of emotions. We've all seen eulogies where they are hard to get through because the person is crying so much. You want to practice your tears out of your eulogy, and I know that seems very complicated and almost cold, but you want to be able to present your ideas and your thoughts and your commemoration and your celebration of the person's life in a clear voice so that people can hear. You want to refer to the deceased person's family. You want to be positive in your presentation. You don't want to talk about, your great aunt who you're quite surprised that they finally passed away because you were sure they were the devil and going to walk the earth for all eternity, and how bad that person was and how they divided the family and how horrible they lived their lives. You don't want to talk about those things in eulogies. You want to have a positive note. But then again, you don't want to make the person out to be a saint when they were not. So be realistic in your tributes for eulogies. After dinner speeches are kind of a different animal. They don't necessarily maintain the brevity of the previous special occasion speeches. After dinner speeches are sometimes keynote speeches. They are longer. They are meant to entertain. They are more like a comedy show or a learning experience. These are lighthearted after dinner speeches. They they can last 35 minutes long. Listeners may expect to gain insight into a topic, to learn of group priorities and goals. You do want to, for these longer speeches, recognize the occasion. You don't want to deliver a canned speech. Politicians used to deliver the same speech all over when they did these after dinner speeches, but now that they are filmed and recorded and it is played back, they can no longer do that. You want to keep remarks low key. Listeners are digesting a meal, so this is not the time to stir up emotions. This is not the time to, have them fighting mad or have them, signing away their fortunes because of the, animals freezing in the cold. You want these to be fun, entertaining, informative, not necessarily persuasive. They can be persuasive in an informative way. You want to, potentially set the stage for people. You may want to put an item on their agenda, but these are not really sales pitch speeches. And we'll talk about persuasive speeches later in the semester. Speeches of inspiration. These are speeches that are uplifting to the audience members. We think of sermons, commencement addresses, pep talks, locker room talks, nomination speeches at national conventions. These are all inspirational speeches. They again tend to be longer. They are not the short toasts or roasts. They tend to, 35, 40 minutes long. You have to prepare for these. No one is going to give an inspirational speech off the top of their head. That would be ridiculous. And if that's what you think great speakers do, you are wrong. They definitely outline and practice. Speeches of inspiration often appeal to audience members' emotions. They use narratives and real life stories, and they are very dynamic. So, thinking of these things, make sure when you are crafting a special occasion speech for the first few, through the toasts, the introductions, the award, receiving an award, the acceptance speeches, make sure, and eulogies, make sure you are brief. In the others, the inspirational speeches, these keynote speeches or after dinner speeches, those are a little longer. So, again, with all of them, you want to prepare, you want to practice, you want to think your thoughts through. You want to make sure that you are meeting the needs of the audience. You don't want to be the person telling stories of the groom and all the trouble they got into in front of the entire bride's family and the entire groom's family, and making it seem like they were probably not a very good match, or she's gotten herself into a whole lot of trouble. You need to prepare. You might want to tell funny stories, but you also have to recognize, you know, who is in the audience and what stories should be told at that time. So I hope this helps you understand some of these brief special occasion speeches, because you will be presenting special occasion speeches this semester.